Hello, my loveliest. So, I've got a story to tell. From pills to pilgrimage. I tried to commit suicide twice in my early 20s with pills. And this past 2 weeks, I've been on a next level with God. For all the years, I am exactly been 12 years in an intimate relationship with God. And 90% of our conversation was one way through podcast. And God did answer, but it was few and far between. Not few and far between, but they were static. But I was always convinced every year, at the end of the year, Spotify would bring out this report and would say, I've made 4,000 hours of podcasts. So I've already crossed the threshold of 10,000 hours of praise. And that's the public ones. So I was always like wondering, God, is there somebody else in this world praying so much to you as I do? Am I on? Not that it was a competition. There was like things that I was wondering. But this past 2 weeks, I'm like getting my answers immediately. And yes, I am definitely in the top 10 of bombarding heaven's rooms among many things. But I would like to tell you this story. And for the past 2 weeks, I'll talk to God and He'll say, make a podcast. And then I'll say, okay, I'll make a podcast. And then I'll start thinking about something else. And then God would say it's time to plan the new earth. And I've done some marvelous road trips this week, which I'll also tell you about. And this afternoon, I had my breakthrough. And God said, I see you are not ready for new earth. You are still grieving. Take your time. And when I heard that, or not heard that, when I felt that in my spirit, I don't hear God like audibly. I feel Him in my spirit. I make notes. Um, guess what was the next thing I did? I'm working in my bed from now on, and I got up, I got my microphone, and I was like, okay, let's make this podcast. Like that moment when I got that relief, it was like, okay, God, and it's been like I've been Israel these past 2 weeks. Like I think I've said that in a previous podcast where I said God said, you argue with me, you not argue, you negotiate with me the whole time. So I need to tell the from the pills to the pilgrimage story. This morning I was thinking about Titanic and the Titan submarine. Okay, let me quickly stand still there. Like I was literally asking God, like, what was it about the Titan submarine? I said something always felt very off in my spirit with the Titan submarine. Like, why? It was literally like all of the world was in a cloud of hypnosis where everybody was just talking about this missing um Titan submarine. And I was like, guys, is 5 men's life really that important? Like something irked me. And like literally I was so social in that week in June 2023 that I can remember I interacted with so many people and that's all everybody spoke about. And then this morning I was like, okay, so tell me what was going on behind the veils on that specific point. And apparently this was June 2023. The Titan um, submarine was a cover up. The the synchronicities between it. I mean, the Titanic stands for the biggest crime against humanity, where they still treated people like peasants. Like if you were a first class citizen, you got the lifeboat, and that's why the Titanic is such a collective grief for all of us. The movie, the story, because we all realize that some people's lives are worth more than others. And that's what we all as a collective are fighting against. Whether it's in racism, apartheid, BE, whatever fight you are fighting against, it's a fight that you're fighting because your human essence is valued less than your neighbor, whether it's in gender, IQ, whatever. It's the same fight over and over again. Classes. This group is in, this group is out. Ideologically, politics. Okay, I missed that one out. Idealistische politicus. That's what it is in Afrikaans. But in any case, so then you get the Titan submarine, five billionaires, people who's got literally too much money. I can remember when it came out, I did the sum like how many poor orphanages could those five people have funded with that trip down there? And it was an astronomical amount. And what was going on behind the screens with that? And the the answer is what happened to those five men? Maybe it was there was never those five men were never even maybe there wasn't even a Titan submarine. That's the one option. Like they are still living their lives somewhere in the secluded spot. Like that's also an option. But in any case, so what was happening behind? There's also the idea that it was a type of a human sacrifice. There's that very dark, sinister possibility. But during that same week, there was a US whistleblower going on public record to say that the US government has been experimenting with non human kind of aerospace equipment. That was June 2023. In this, a year later, we started seeing all the drones in America. Like, that was the one thing. There was another COVID conspiracy covered up. There was an exploitation of the amount of people that benefited from COVID. And I think it was something like $23 million that was in the news. So basically, what it boils down to is it started with Lord. I never understood the Titan submarine. Why was it so big? And then I stumbled upon Titanic, and then I was like, I'm gonna watch Titanic now. And my matric farewell dress was exactly the same dress like what Titanic Rose, what Rose wore in Titanic as she was trying to commit suicide. And that's what struck me now, because the word she said, it felt like I was standing in the middle of the room, screaming at the top of my lungs, and nobody even looked up. And that's the sigh. Because that's why I designed my matric dress that way, because I felt so unseen. And 2 years later, I tried to commit suicide for the first time, and 2 years later, I tried to commit suicide for the second time. And this is what God revealed to me tonight. He said today, He said, I said, why? Like, first of all, I felt so much shame that I've never spoken about this so publicly, not even to friends. I've mentioned it to one friend before, but like such a big shame. Okay, so first of all, it was my way of saying, I don't want to play anymore. I don't know what to do. It was never that I hated life. It was always just like, Lord, I don't know what else to do. Like literally what Rose did here as well. She didn't want to die. She just wanted not to play anymore. And sometimes we do silly things because we don't know how to say stop. God showed me today that while I was unconscious, the first time it was 2 days, and then the second time it was a day. He showed me like my soul had a meeting, and he said, You were in heaven. And we gave you the choice. Do you want to end it all? Do you want to sacrifice your big mission here on earth? Or do you want to go back and we'll change the rules a little bit? And obviously, my soul signed up for, yes, I want to go back, but this is really too tough. And this is the golden key that I'm going to give you today, that this is what God showed me. You don't have to play with your life to see and experience that what I've experienced. I'm going to teach you how to do it now, because it's from pills to pilgrimage. And as I look back now, both the first one, it was a family incident that was a trigger. And then the second one, it was a big love disappointment. And if I look back now, like 2020 perfect vision, like things did change. My mom wasn't so harsh and irresponsible as she was the final trigger beforehand. Not that I'm saying it's ever right. Not. Literally, it took me 22 years, and you can still hear ek hyperventileer, because it's not, that was my darkest moments in my life ever. And then as I make podcasts, as I am sometimes in the public eye, I do battle a little bit with imposter syndrome. And yes, there has been people who would say, like vindictive exes, if everybody knew who you are, they would not, like those things, and I've dealt with that. But this secret is probably the one that I feared always coming out and unmasking me on the most horrific space. Because it was all me. I've done other things that's really bad. I've kissed a married man, and I really feel very bad, but he lied to me. Not that I'm saying it's right, but the suicide attempts was all me. Like, there's no ways how I can argue my way out of it. So, yes, out of all the things I've done in my life, that is definitely the thing. Because I think that's the biggest betrayal that you can give God, is saying, you gave me this you gave me life, and I'm taking it back. And that was never what I wanted. Like, literally, I felt that's what, but yes, that is what you're saying if you're trying to commit suicide. But today with God, it was like, God, I never wanted to die. I was so, I was so stuck in a corner. I literally didn't know. And with the rose scene, I told God, I said, I told people, how many times I've told people. And also, secondly, I did pray to God all those times. And to me, it felt like nothing was changing. And it wasn't that God was not there. I just didn't have the right language. And that's what I'm trying to teach you now, yeah. So this was my 20s. God said the second time around, we were a little bit strict with you to say, you're not going to continue with this. So after the second time, like, I've been literally to hell and back this past couple of 20 years. Actually, my whole life. Let's just be honest. I mean, I was having this talk this today with God. Like, I was looking at my her funeral letter, and I was asking God, who is raised in a house where I knew exactly where we were in our lives, because we were measuring it with my mom's chemo hair. Like, oh yes, that's the time that the hair came out, like almost like crucies. Oh yes, that's where, like, literally, that was who who does that? And there's a lot of other really funny turns my life has made. But never again after the second time in my 20s. Like, it was not even on my radar. Like, yes, like, it wasn't exiting on my own with my own hands wasn't even a remote option ever. Okay, like, literally, there was a seal. God said, we sealed you. You're not going to think about it again. We're not going to have this circus every time. Then okay, in my 30s, I went through an abusive relationship. And in that period, I went to a counselor, and she taught me about spiritual warfare. And that was already a big jump for me, because if I was in immediate danger, I can do spiritual warfare, and then the danger is gone. So God is still not a vending machine. I can't pray for 5,000 rand in my bank account, but I had more control. And that carried me for years, guys. Like, oh, I can pray or I can take control. Last year was bigger for me. The debris, the trauma that I had to work through because it was closer. And it wasn't like my mom had cancer, so that was an easy label. Then I was in an abusive relationship, which shocked my world. So it's like he was he was verbally abusive, but he was physically abusive as well. Like literally, if I want to shock people, I can say there's a doctor that I've got a J98 form, like with all the injuries that was done on my body the one time. Like there were periods where I was fearing for my life. God save me, I never broke a bone, but the bruises and the cut lips and the things like that, it was horrific. So I could put a label on that saying my life was literally in danger. He was like, I'm going to kill you. And he didn't say it, but I could see it in his eyes. He was thinking, and I'm going to enjoy doing it. Like, there were moments like that. So that was my first awakening, mom having cancer and everything that went with that. Second awakening, abusive relationship. And then the third awakening was last year. And it was a beautiful storm of everything in my life blowing up in pieces. Like, I put a final boundary in place with my family, with my dad, and as a result, the whole family um abandoned me. Like, hoe durf jy opstaan? Jy is 'n kind in hierdie huishouding. Jy weet, that typical Afrikaner household. Like, kinders moet gesien word en nie gehoor word nie, even if they're 42 years old, like, literally. And the backlash and the pain I didn't expect because I was doing it to protect myself, and instead I ended up with so much more collateral damage, and how the rest of the family really turned around me. So that was the first bit. And literally, I've got like evidence showing that my dad is a narcissist. Like, it's not as if I'm crying wolf over nothing. The kind of, yeah, it's serious, guys. So that was the one thing. Then the second thing was my foundation was took from beneath me. I had another circle of friends, and very bad things happened there. Also betrayal and gossip and things like that. And last year, this is where I want to start with pills to pilgrimage. So in my 20s, I needed something and I took pills, which was not right. In my 30s, I needed something and then I got spiritual warfare and that changed my world. But then I was also, once again, rock bottom, it was early 20s, early 30s, early 40s. And last year, I also knew I needed this change. Heaven sealed me off. Like, self-exiting ain't an option for me anymore. Like, okay. And I was looking to go and do a Camino by myself, and all the doors kept closing around me last year. And I was more devastated last year actually than the previous two traumas. And I think last year was my worst year because it was such a perfect storm of all these small traumas that nobody realized, or yeah, it just felt to me like I was unseen. And in any case, but all of this led me, if I ever had a savior in my 20s or my 30s or last year, somebody that was really there for me, I wouldn't have turned to God as intensely as I have. So once again, I'm grateful for it. So all of the pilgrimage, doing something local here in South Africa, it's so far for me to travel. There was just too many obstacles. Then I discovered Boyd Varty's teachings in December, and he basically spoke about like a 40 days alone, isolation. And I started doing that. And that's where God showed up, like literally. And in the beginning, I started very softly, where I would say to friends, listen, I'm fasting from my WhatsApp. Now I'm like, I'm alone with God. I will let you know when I feel social again. Because I know I was this close to doing something really bad once again. And I'm not healed yet. And this is my time out. So my hope and my prayer is maybe you are also at that point from, Lord, something's got to change. I've been praying. I've been telling people. I don't know if your answer is isolation. That's not what I'm saying. All that I'm saying is that this was my journey of extreme measures to find healing. And some people check into a psychiatric hospital, and some people get a divorce, and some people start an affair. That's where I believe where druggies are born. Like, Lord, something's got to change, and I don't know how. And I don't have the solution for you, but my prayer is God will give you the practical steps, and whether it's through a Boyd Vati or whatever it is, but may this podcast empower you to tell your spouse or your significant other, I am not coping. And I'm not saying I'm self-exiting, but something's got to change. And I don't know how, but please help me. I'm really desperate. I love you guys. And I hope you keep me in your prayers because I've got a lot of juicy podcasts. Once this whole healing thing is over, we're going to have so much fun.